It is the 2nd of the 8th, 2025. The time is 21 minutes past 8. And your boy has forgotten how to talk. What are we doing here, chat? Charles Leclerc steals the lunch money of the McLaren boys, the boys and girls over at the Papaya Colour Tip. What are we doing? How's he managed to do that? Well, it's multitude. There are a multitude of reasons even. It's wind. It's Charles Leclerc going harder, being longer on the brake, and implementing for a tad of throttle at the same time, keeping the car stable. Oh, the humanity. Put some respect on Charles Leclerc's name. You know, I'm not a big fan of the dude at the altar because of his multitudinous errors of the unforced variety. He has been mercurial, temperamental over the course of his career to date. That's not to say that he doesn't have a god tier lap in him though. Point A, point to B, probably point B, probably the quickest that we've ever seen, some say. Charles Leclerc is god tier, and he showed it today. Props to him. He was levels. Tom took advantage of the fact that McLaren boys were unsettled by the change in wind, the change in climatic circumstance. All of a sudden, it was cooler climbs, and OJP and Lando Norris bottled it between Q2 and Q3. They went backwards to the tune of 4/10. The one that they call modern day Jean Lazy, aka Charles Leclerc, he gained 4/10. What are we doing, chat? God tier from Charles Leclerc. Props. He was even surprised. You heard him afterwards. He was like, what are you talking about? How am I? Mamma mia. An incident of the race, said Charles Leclerc, legendary settings. I mean, he's not a bad peddler. Sometimes you got to eat yourself some humble pie. And Charles Leclerc on this day made me do it. Made a mug of OJP and Lando Norris. I still think the biggest story, not to take anything away from Charles Leclerc, because there's not too many drivers in the whole of history who could have put that lap together the way that he did, 1000%. However, I think the story is one of OJP and Lando Norris. Yeah, there was the wind, but they were tentative at each and every single turn. Bloody Charles Leclerc was 10 kph quicker down the straights than him. That can't just be the car, surely. The circumstance had changed, and OJP and Lando were struggling with it, granted. But yet and still, nobody's going to tell me if you put Max or a Charles Leclerc, who's had his Weetabix in that McLaren, that they wouldn't have dropped it on pole and locked out the front row. Herein lies the vulnerable underbelly, the soft vulnerable underbelly of the McLaren boys and girls. Now that they have durable competitive advantage in the form of the MCL39 and its double brake duct and its front flexi wing and its slot gap, or no longer the slot gap in the rear, because of all of the aforementioned, at the hands of Rob Marshall, they look brilliant though. They look like some of the best drivers that we've ever seen, but you can't tell because you don't have a Charles Leclerc in the car, you don't have a Max in the car, and you don't have a Sir Lewis Hamilton in the MCL39 to benchmark their competence as drivers proper. Oh, and by the way, here's your grid. And it's techie. There are some key bits that we need to talk about. Tom, I'm useless. What are we doing here? Here's what you need to know. Charles Leclerc, pole, take it. Lando Norris in third place. OJP second. And you've got George in fourth. Fernando Alonso in fifth. And then Lance Stroll in sixth. Adrian Newey settings, any. The last of the airbenders, any. I thought he was meant to be focusing on the 2026 car exclusively. I thought they were saying over at Aston Martin that if you pick up the phone to Adrian Newey, the second that you say 2025, puts down the phone, doesn't want to know, uncontactable. He's focused only on building a rocket ship in 2026, but it feels like Adrian Newey's breathed on this because Aston Martin, by dint of their brand new sexy front wing, says Fernando Alonso, now have a car that likes to turn in at a low to medium speed track, just like Hungaroring. It's techie. Stella said they were too conservative. He did say they were too conservative, Macon. That's chaos. I don't know. I was getting on board the good ship OJP. I was starting to buy the Oscar Jack Piastri Kool-Aid. I was starting to drink it. And now today I'm thinking, well, maybe he's got some growing to do. Maybe Lando and his multitudinous mistakes of the unforced variety are flattering to deceive. Shouts out to Bortoletto. Shouts out to King George Russell as well of Kings Lynn, Norfolk. Fourth place in a W16 of a car. That is a dog. Oh, and by the way, Can we talk about Lewis Hamilton for a second? What are we doing here? It's going to get techier than techie things. Let me just say this first and foremost. Lewis Hamilton fans, listen, I still love Lewis Hamilton, irrespective of what anybody will say. Will I critique him for underperforming? Sometimes. Do I like the fact that he goes to the Met Gala, all the while talking about how he's focused only on Formula One? Those two things for me are orthogonal to each other. I recall I tweeted out earlier on in the year that Lewis was asked the question, listen, you've got all these altruistic ventures and philanthropic endeavours, Lewis, that must take up some of your bandwidth. Are you going to have enough to do all of those things concurrently with focusing on Ferrari, not your 8th championship of the drivers variety, but your first for Ferrari? Are you going to have enough bandwidth? To which Sir Lewis Hamilton replied, I'm not focused on all those other things. I'm focused only on Ferrari, the acclimatization process, and winning my first drivers' championship in red as versus my 8th as an F1 driver. Sir Lewis Hamilton said that. I tweeted that out then with a picture of Sir Lewis at the Met Gala, to which Colt LH said, what are you doing, Cameron? The reaction was chaos. It went viral. What are you on about, Cameron? How very dare you talk about Sir Lewis Hamilton? How very dare you take the Lord's name in vain, was the reaction then. So too, this is important, chat, because we're gonna have to contextualize this. So too, at the start of season, what did you hear me saying? It's going to be difficult for Sir Lewis. Don't think for a second that a fire-breathing dragon, a young, hungry lion in Charles Leclerc, aka modern day Jean Alesi, is just going to lay down and let Lewis Hamilton beat him. Are you having a laugh? Do you think Charles Leclerc quivers at all of the multitudinous accolades of Sir Lewis Hamilton? Do you think he cares? Is he going to smash Lewis Hamilton? He will think in his mind that he's the quickest driver to ever get behind the steering wheel, will Charles Leclerc. And now that Sir Lewis is over there, now I'm going to prove it to the world, just as George Russell did over the past 3 years. That's what you're dealing with. Plus overlay that difficult circumstance with the following, that Sir Lewis is going to a brand new place, a brand new car, a brand new set of disc and pads in Brembo as versus Carbon Industry, what he's used to. A brand new car that doesn't work well with him. He's 40 years old. We said again, and I will say, I will reiterate for the avoidance of doubt, Lewis is 40. Oh, he's still in his prime, they said. Is he still in his prime at 40 years old? How does that even make sense in F1? That's a young man's game. Colt LH, who like to have faith, faith being the belief in something, sans evidence. What are we doing? It was always going to be difficult. If he was going to get it done, the hill up which he needed to climb, unprecedented in terms of its gradient, like this, perpendicular almost, it was always going to be mission impossible for Sir Lewis. But if anybody can do it, Sir Lewis can do it. We know who he was. If he can recover the form of yesteryear erstwhile, then of course he could do it. Colt RH said he will do it, though, as if their as if their crystal ball even is less murky than the rest of ours. And that, therein lies the controversy in this. Their expectation doesn't meet the action. The fact is left lagging. There is an adverse variance here as far as Sir Lewis Hamilton's performance to the not insubstantial expectation of Sir Lewis Hamilton fans around the world. But listen, we understood, right? We understand the broader context. 40 years old. Look, how many champions have won drivers' championships? Have become drivers' champion at Lewis Hamilton's age or older? Three only in the 75-year history of Formula One. I will go through them as if we haven't gone through them already a gazillion times. 1950, Nino Farina, that was the first one. 57, Fangio won his last one, I recall. And 1966, Jack Brabham. Those were the only ones, and they were 100,000 years ago, for Pete's sake. So what makes you think, therefore, that Lewis Hamilton is going to come and do the unprecedented thing because you think he's the second coming? Here's what Lewis Hamilton had to say out in Q2, and where it gets techie is by comparison. If Charles Leclerc is also out, then we don't have a conversation, do we? There's nothing to see, right? Because that means, therefore, the car's just rubbish. But Charles Leclerc did make it out of Q2, and the dude put it on the pole. This is where it gets techie, then techie things. Chat, this is what Lewis Hamilton had to say. And remember, the context is also key here. Last year when he was racing for Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton went through his troughs and he started saying some things, didn't he? Listen, I'll never out-qualify George Russell springs to mind. Something's going on with the car, the pressures, the temperature. Something is happening to the car that I don't understand. The performance is there in FP3, and then when we get to the paid sessions, Q1, 2 and 3, all of a sudden it goes away. Lewis Hamilton got down in himself. Now, I think sometimes Lewis uses the negativity, pushes it forth to the press and media to use as a rod for his own back, and we are there again today because Lewis Hamilton doubled down on the negativity, and this is what he had to say. Roll the clip.
Shit every time. I just don't get through every time. So.
Where did you feel that you were in a good position after FP3? As said, where were you lacking on qualifying?
Clearly everywhere. I really don't know, but everywhere. It was useless. I was useless.
So before, Lewis could take aim at the car, but now because Charles has dropped it on pole, he has no ammo. So he does he points the negativity lens at himself. I was SH1T today, everywhere. That's techier than techie things. Now, Lewis, he wasn't great. Of course, Charles Leclerc is on pole, and Lewis can't be happy with that because in his own mind, he's still Rye House. Lewis, still the quicker. So what's going on? But that, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think it's edifying as much as it... words that I'm looking for are these. It would be easy for me to dance on the grave of Sir Lewis Hamilton fans who still, by the way, aren't busying themselves with Sir Lewis and his multitudinous travails and foibles today, are pointing the lens at Max Verstappen, talking about all the races that Max hasn't won, which tells you the extent to which these guys and girls leverage some Abbottson reason, choose to disbelieve the evidence of their own eyes and ears at the altar of cognitive dissonance, recency and or confirmation bias. But I'm concerned with Sir Lewis Hamilton here. He doesn't need to be so negative on himself. Not if he wants to be edifying. Not if he wants to leverage some motivation. Do you know what I mean? This is a learning point for Sir Lewis. Yeah, he wasn't bad. He wasn't great today. But you see that the convergence as far as the delta between him and Charles has done one of these. It used to be 3 and 4 tenths earlier on in the season. It's come down like this, or at least before today. This wasn't great. It was a bit of an overreaction, Becker. I agree with you. Put Lewis in an MCL 3-9 and the championship's over. I don't disagree with you either, Miami. Sir John Perry says, in all fairness, the track changed drastically from FP to Q3. The wind changed, the wind picked up. Charles Leclerc was faster in the car. But the problem for Sir Lewis is that Charles Leclerc is getting it done. He has this ability. His knack, his gift in the car, his ability to drive around the multitudinous foibles, both mechanical and aerodynamic, of the SF25 in a way that Sir Lewis Hamilton can't yet. Maybe he gets it right at some point. Maybe once he's got his feet underneath the red table with a yellow badge and black prancing horse atop, maybe he'll be able to do it then, or maybe he won't. And this is why Lewis Hamilton naysayers are having a field day, because some of them have been saying for the longest time that Sir Lewis is a fast car merchant, that he's a weak team merchant, that all of his 7 championships have been gained at the altar of the ineptitudes of those who have driven in the same car as him, Valtteri Bottas, Kovalainen, Jenson Button, et al. And this, in the latter stages of his career, is only giving them more ammunition. Now, I don't believe in those theses. I wouldn't even put them forth as my principal first or second suppositions, but it's giving them ammo by the second. You jumped in the car alongside George and you were 2-1 down. You've jumped in the car alongside Charles Leclerc, who, for the avoidance of doubt, is a fire-breathing dragon. Case in point, putting it on pole today, beating quicker cars in Oscar and Lando Norris's MCL 3-9. But as soon as you get in a car alongside Charles, what's going on? It will give them I do not believe that theory is true. However, if we're having the argument and it's F1 barbershop, then these are the things that they'll be citing. Max 2 years Red Bull, then he retired to reggae. He cannot retire. He's got to go to somewhere. He has to go somewhere else. If Red Bull keep going, we'll talk about Max because it's just as techie over. It's probably even techier than Lewis's circumstance over at the Bulls that are red. Let me tell you this. I am a big Maximilian Verstappen. I'm a fan of sporting endeavour par excellence. The Max Verstappen laps, when he look, I love seeing Max Verstappen when he doesn't have the car underneath him, but when it's just quick enough to give him a sniff. Ergo, we're talking about Saudi Arabia, the British Grand Prix. We're talking about Australia. When he's just close enough to keep, by dint of the fact that he's a difference maker, that he can bridge the gap and outperform the car. When he's just close enough to have a sniff, I love seeing Max Verstappen nail it. No longer, though, chat, is he close enough. And herein lies the problem. The RB21 is an absolute dog. Let me address in the first instance the Max Verstappen naysayers that think somehow that the RB21 is a speedy car. First or second on the grid, they said. Bull feathers, nonsense. Where was Maximilian Verstappen today? As near as makes no difference throughout the paid session. Nowhere. I can't even remember. I will have to refer. Eighth. That's where Max Verstappen was. And you think that car's capable, commensurate to winning races and championships. What are we doing? That's nonsense. That RB21 is a dog. Understeer setter. It feels like I've just rewinded. I've jumped into the time machine and it's 12 months previous. It's Max Verstappen trying to wrestle a car that understeers and snap oversteers. How do you solve for that? Max was telling them in free practice. We harboured hope, that they were going to sort it out, that Red Bull were going to pull a rabbit out of the design philosophy come setup hat. They did not. Car's still understeery. Max Verstappen struggling for it. And not only does it understeer, but it lacks for balance. It is slow. There are a gazillion dragons for which Maximilian Verstappen and Tsunoda-san need to slay as far as that RB20 on. Why? Because they haven't sorted it out. Because Enrico Balba and Pierre Vacher were meant to pick up from where Adrian Newey left off, and they haven't done it. There is nobody in that team to take a step back from the F1 wood and see the F1 trees, understand how to troubleshoot even for a car that's techier than techie things. And Max Verstappen said today, you know what, it's done. Listen, the car's rubbish everywhere. It won't turn. It doesn't have the aerodynamic efficiency that you need. It doesn't handle low and medium speed turns. It can't climb cut. It does nothing good. Maximilian Verstappen is done. Gonzo, he must be wishing that he signed the contract to go over to Toto, the boy who cried wolves, Mercedes and Silver Arrows in 2026. He's made the right decision, but it can't feel that way on the back of an embarrassing day like this. Max Verstappen has told Dutch media that he doesn't expect, like Sir Lewis last year, that he doesn't expect to win another race this year. Oh, the humanity, chat. I mean, the ramifications are several. F1 neutrals around the world will be hoping for having a couple, more than just the McLarens that can win themselves a championship of the drivers' variety. More than them. What are we doing here? This is nonsense. Andrew, sounds like Cammy's making excuses for Max's issues. What issues does Max? Andrew, listen, let me put forth as a supposition. We spoke earlier on doing the stream. If anybody wants to tell you that Max is just a fast car merchant, I mean, you don't need to look too far back, delve too deep into your memory banks this year to understand what Max is capable of. Maybe he wasn't the best today, but was he in 8th? Is that the performance? Is that what his performance deserved? I would disagree. I will beg to differ. I couldn't argue that with a straight face. 8th! Max Verstappen in 8th. Do you hear the words that are coming out of my... Let's have a look back at the grid. So Max Verstappen, you're telling me that he was slower than Bortoletto, Stroll and Alonso. Behave yourself. Russell, Norris, Piastri and Leclerc. I'm not having it. I'm not buying it. I don't care. I cannot. No, I will not. Max is deflecting his Del Boys. I can smell something. It's techie and techie things. I think I empathise with Max Verstappen. Now, this isn't for me to say that Lewis Hamilton had the car. I don't think his car is perfect, but it was perfect enough to where Charles Leclerc can put it on pole. That's the issue. Imagine if Tsunoda-san had dropped it on pole. He didn't. Tsunoda-san is in 16th, and therein lies your pivotal point. That's your exhibit A, B, and C. I am sad. Where art thou, Pierre? Look. Here's what you need to know. Tomorrow's going to be gangbusters. It will be a race. How long can Charles Leclerc keep the fire-breathing dragons of OJP and Lando Norris behind him? Well, if there's no wind, then it's... I didn't say issue. I said skill issue. Go on then, Andrew. I think you're shouting into a vacuum, sir. What's Max's skill issue? Pinpoint it. There's not one that I know of. Can he be a bit temperamental sometimes? If you're going to talk about that, then we're having a different conversation. Skill issue. That's the altar at which you're looking to downplay Max Verstappen. Behave yourself, Andrew. Come on, chap. Like, what are we doing? I can't. If we're going to have a serious back and forth, Andrew, then let's have it. But I don't know. That's you. I feel like you've picked the wrong debate. I don't see it. I don't see it. Coyote. Madness. What's the weather forecast tomorrow? 40 to 60% chance of rain at some point. I don't think it'll be heavy, not like what we saw at Spa-Francorchamps, but there could be rain at some point. And again, maybe that opens up the door for a fantastic come from behind drive from one Sir Lewis and one Maximilian Verstappen. Andrew, you're a joker. I hear you. I'm watching out for you, Andrew. This is a back and forth, but sometimes rage baiting profit. I can't do it sometimes. Sometimes I mistranslate for the sarcasm. OG Zilly, you're a legend. I'm praying for the rain gods for tomorrow. I want to see Max and Hamilton charge through the field and we see them both and Stroll on the mate. OG Zilly are far too kind as always. Who knows what's going to kick it? I don't know. My crystal ball is far too murky. Would you put it past a Sir Lewis to charge through the field and drop it on a podium? Similar thing for Max? Absolutely not. Max is obviously exhausted with the incompetent car. John, I just what do you do? I don't know. There's nothing to say, is there? Maybe you should have gone and joined Mercedes. I just don't know. It's sad. It really, really is sad to see. It's sad to see Sir Lewis struggling, but that was always going to be the case as far as how he faces down or up to one Charles Leclerc. Charles Leclerc is a killer. Faster than fast things. Point A, point B. Some of the quickest that you'll ever see. In fact, I did take a couple of screenshots. I wanted to go line by line with important bits of Charles Leclerc's genius, and so too Lando and OJP's ineptitudes in that car. It was the win. Let me show you this. But I'll read it out to you. Probably better that I do it this way. Autosport says in the first sector, it's all about Charles Leclerc's speed on the straights. He's 7 kilometers per hour faster before braking zone into turn 1 and 10 kilometers per hour faster on the entry into turn 4 than Oscar Piastri. This is, for want of a better technical term, strange. Leclerc had a small straight line speed benefit in their respective Q2 laps, but nothing like the same magnitude here at 2 kilometers per hour and 4 kilometers per hour into turn 1 and turn 4. In those Q2 laps, the McLaren engine speed are running at about the same level during turn 3 and turn 4, but Piastri is down into turn 1 as he makes the shift up to 8th much later. What is going on? It all accumulates as far as the quantum, the delta that Charles Leclerc has in hand at the final corner exit. This is where Charles Leclerc's longer braking but keeping a touch on the throttle and as a technique yields the better exit on entry to turn 14. The drivers experience a tailwind and thus have to work harder to bleed speed out of the car, but then need the acceleration to get a jump start on the subsequent headwind into turn 1. Traction, torquier engine settings. Jorge, you're a legend. 2026 going to be a long year for Max. La humanidad. Imagínate tú. Okay, it's going to get taken. Thank you, sir, for the continued support. The driver experience a tailwind and thus have to work harder to bleed speed out of the car, but then need the acceleration to get a jump start on the subsequent headwind into turn 1. It's torquier, isn't it? The engine of Scuderia Ferrari. Maybe that's got a part to play in this. That's where Charles Leclerc's previous higher lap rewarded him with info, while Piastri couldn't quite get the formula right in the more wind affected areas. What you then see is a pretty linear loss, continues Autosport, of time through the lap as the wind upsets the balance of the McLaren, and the need to take the final corner with about 10 kilometers per hour less through corner speed is the final clicker, as he has to brake for longer to keep the rear stable. Does Oscar Jack Piastri. It's techier than techie things. But somebody needs to replace Pierre Vacher, Benzi. Somebody needs to. Good screen grab up there with Lucy's. But I tell you what, that is sad to see. I haven't watched the past 15 years to understand, but Michael, it's techie. Vacher taking up car. He needs to. It's not good enough. They're not fixing the car, but it doesn't matter now. He can stop there because Maximilian Verstappen has himself a performance clause that he can leverage and get out of his contract this time next year. Leclerc destroyed Seb. He's doing the same with Hamilton. Oh, the humanity. It's a sad sad times as far as Sir Lewis and as far as Maximilian Verstappen. The former more than the latter, of course, if we're talking about a difference in extent and not kinds. We'll go live. We'll do a 10 a.m. tomorrow. We'll unpick this more because I think it needs more unpicking. So too, we go live 30 minutes before lights out tomorrow. You guys are legends. I'm going back to cry into my hot cup of cocoa at the altar of Sir Lewis Hamilton and Maximilian Verstappen. And this feels like the end of their seasons, respectively. Lewis Hamilton saying today, I'm useless. And again, we didn't go through that in the audio, did we? He said, I'm useless, no problem with the car. The car's on pole. Probably need to change the driver. Say how you really feel. Why don't you, Sir Lewis? Carl Davidson Hamilton. What are we doing here?